sport is at the heart of every community in Ireland, both rural and urban. The fact that there is a GA club and they have a presence in nearly every parish on our island of Ireland, the UK, Europe, the Americas, Africa, Australasia, Asia, in fact every continent in the world inhabited by humans, inhabited by people with Irish roots or who identify with their Irish roots. And this demonstrates the intrinsic value that we place upon sport as an expression not just of our nationhood, but us as our identity as humans. As well as our aptitude for our Gaelic games, in many global sports we currently are or have historically exceeded expectations for a country of our size. In athletics, running, boxing, equestrianism, surfing, gymnastics, cricket, hockey, you could go on and on, sailing, golf and other sports, we've consistently produced world championships and key members of world-beating teams. While our elite sports people are the people who grab the international headlines, sport is very much a community enterprise and has a positive impact upon all sectors of society, from young children attending nursery sessions to older people engaging in sport themselves or performing key roles in committees and clubs. Sport is in Ireland an expression of community. It's also good for our health, good for our physical health and good for our mental health. And it's also good value for the nation's wealth. On combating obesity alone, we spend somewhere between 1.1 and 1.5 billion annually, to say nothing of the savings that could be made in mental health services, cardiac care and the improvements in productivity and overall well-being of the population if we invested more in sports. There's an old saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And there's research, I suppose, that can back this up. When we spend on preventative measures, such as encouraging people to participate in sport, we automatically make savings in the health budget. Sport, when delivered well, locally, fosters a sense of community belonging, cohesion and encourages inclusion. And I'm so grateful in my own community for the volunteers. I have 3 teenage children and it definitely has kept them out of trouble by being involved in sport. It teaches them commitment, self-awareness, discipline and teamwork, and I'm so grateful for the volunteers that run the clubs. And it should be, and I suppose sport should be and can be, an effective defence against the increased levels of sexism, racism and intolerance that blights much of the online and social media landscape. I've no doubt, and this has come up here many times today as well, that we've seen in our own communities examples of sport being a force for genuine social inclusion in action. But none of this happens by accident. It happens through good social policy and investment in local communities and grassroots organisations which support the volunteers that turn up to training sessions week in and week out. In North Sligo and South Donegal, we are of course immensely proud of our Olympic medalist Mona McSherry. Mona is from the village of Grange in Sligo and trained in the pool in Ballyshannon in Donegal. The building, the pool is owned by Donegal County Council, and it's the same with our own pool in Sligo. I suppose there's own challenges about employment often within sports centres, because they don't enjoy the same employment rights as their colleagues that are directly employed by local authorities. But I'm not even going to go into that, but it demonstrates how a sense of community and volunteerism extends from the very base of the very pinnacle of sport, from the infant to the Olympian champion. But these 2 pools that I'm talking about in Ballyshannon and Sligo also highlight the underinvestment in all levels of sport in our region, and I know Senator Rabbit referred to this as well. When Mona and our swimmers take to the pool in Olympic competition, it is in 50-metre pools. Yet Mona has no access to a 50-metre pool. Growing up, people in Sligo, Leitrim and Donegal have no access to a 50-metre pool. There are 3 50-metre pools in Dublin and 1 in Limerick, and it's high time for a 50-metre pool to be constructed in the northwest to take advantage of the huge interest in swimming in our region. Ballyshannon, Carrigan-Shannon and Sligo have fantastic swim clubs and surf and rescue teams who compete at the highest level. A 50-metre pool based in Sligo would be served by, we've an ATU in Sligo, and this would allow us to push this enthusiasm for swimming to a higher level. The fact that girls, this has been spoken about today as well, that the fact that girls leave sport as they often approach and reach their teenage years and adolescence has hit headlines more in recent times, and SIP2 as a trade union have been instrumental in supporting and advocating and campaigning for fair treatment of women in soccer, which is so welcome. Fair treatment and improved terms and conditions for female athletes, and I know many of our female senators have spoken about this here, across all codes have to be a priority and encourage children and girls to stay on. GAA integration is a really welcome move, and it must be managed carefully and with sensitivity, with equality at its core. Us in the Labour Party have a range of practical ideas that would improve the take-up of opportunities for sport, including more swimming pools, like I've spoken about, multi-sports facilities and all-weather pitches in towns with over a population of 5,000. And we also, I know my colleague Mark Wall actually brought a bill through the Seanad here about banning gambling ads. And this is a huge problem. Last week I highlighted the case, for example, of Scolvera in Carrick-on-Shannon, where the PE hall has been split in two to provide extra classroom space. So this is an example, I suppose, of underinvestment of sports facilities within schools. Each school should have proper PE facilities, and these, along with halls, pitches, basketball courts and playgrounds, should be available to be used by local clubs, children and community groups when the schools are closed. And I've raised this issue here in the Seanad as well about having insurance, that the government would ensure to indemnify schools against any insurance claims. We've got these wonderful facilities in schools sitting there locked in the evenings and over summer holidays. But this is none of us beyond it. We can do so much more to support sporting initiatives, and I think we could start with small measures like that, that are using facilities that are in our communities to the maximum capacity.